Captain Joren Hale had been to dozens of colonies, negotiated with dozens of alien species, and seen the worst that interstellar politics could offer. Yet nothing prepared him for the assignment he received on planet Virellia Prime. The Virellians were a proud, hierarchical species. Every social interaction was structured, every family arrangement preordained by their laws. Ownership of mates was expected. Commands were obeyed. Emotion was secondary to duty. When Joren arrived as the designated human liaison for Earth's first official settlement on Virellia Prime, he had been briefed thoroughly. Do not interfere with the local customs, especially regarding their assigned pairings. He nodded and promised compliance. He thought he understood. He was wrong. The first time he met her, it was in the Court of Customs, a sprawling chamber of glass and polished metal. She was elegant, alien in every sense. Slender limbs, translucent skin patterned like flowing water, eyes that reflected the light of 3 suns. And she was trembling. "Assigned mate," the Virellian official intoned, gesturing toward Joren. "He will own you." Joren froze. The word own echoed in his mind like a warning bell. He had trained for negotiations, military protocols, and diplomacy, but owning someone, that was not part of his mission. He looked down at her, heart tightening. She was terrified. No one had asked her opinion. "I don't think that's necessary," Joren said carefully. The official's multiple eyes narrowed. "He cannot refuse. This is law." "I understand," Joren said, ignoring the alien terminology. He crouched slightly, speaking to her softly. "I'm not here to command you. I won't force anything. Not your life, not your choices." Her wide eyes locked on his, as if searching for truth in his human face. And in that moment something shifted. The first weeks were tense. Virellian society watched him closely. Every movement he made with her was scrutinized. The expectation was clear. Humans might be strange, but they had to follow protocol. Joren refused. He walked beside her instead of ahead. He spoke with her instead of issuing directives. He asked questions instead of giving orders. The Virellian officials were scandalized. "You undermine centuries of law," they protested. "I follow a different law," Joren said simply. "The law of choice." The woman, whose name was Alira, hesitated at first, unsure if she could trust this human. But gradually she began to open up. She told him stories of her childhood in Virellia Prime, of the pressure to obey, of dreams and desires suppressed in favor of duty. She laughed at his clumsy attempts to navigate their culture, and sometimes she cried when the weight of her expectations became too heavy. Joren listened. He comforted. He did not command. Months passed. Slowly their bond grew. It was not ownership. It was partnership. It was trust. And in a society where partnership was forbidden, trust became revolutionary. Other Virellians began to notice. Some mocked, calling him naive. Others whispered, curious. But the seeds had been planted. They watched the human and his alien companion, noting that neither was harmed by mutual respect. In fact, both thrived. Alira became more confident, asserting herself in ways that were previously unimaginable. Joren's empathy and patience inspired loyalty among the Virellian aides and cadets who interacted with him. One evening, as the twin moons cast their silvery glow over the settlement, Alira asked the question that would define everything. "Why do you treat me this way?" she asked. "Why don't you follow their law? Why do you respect me?" Joren smiled softly. "Because humans, we believe in something stronger than law. Something that can't be legislated or assigned. It's called choice. And we believe everyone deserves it." She considered this. Slowly, her wings, delicate structures of light and fiber, unfurled. Then, "I choose you." "And I choose you," Joren replied. "Not because I was told, not because of law, but because I care." The turning point came when Virellia Prime faced a threat from an unstable orbital station. Explosions rocked the settlement, and panic spread through the city. Joren and Alira worked side by side, not as master and subordinate, but as equals. Together, they rescued trapped civilians, coordinated with emergency units, and calmed frightened citizens. The Virellian officials witnessed this. For the first time, they saw not weakness in the human refusal to own, but strength. The human's choice to cooperate, to care, and to act with empathy proved more effective than centuries of rigid protocol. "Perhaps," one official whispered, "there is merit in their methods." Word spread quickly. Citizens and cadets began emulating Joren's approach, listening before acting, consulting partners rather than commanding, and respecting individual choice. Families began discussing their arrangements with openness instead of strict adherence to decree. Slowly, a cultural shift began. Years passed. Joren and Alira's partnership became a legend. They married, not by law, but by mutual agreement, and raised children who embodied both human empathy and Virellian grace. Their children, half human, half Virellian, grew up in a society beginning to question centuries-old doctrines. The settlement, once rigid and unforgiving, gradually transformed. Laws that dictated ownership of mates were revised. Advisory councils included input from both humans and aliens. Cooperation replaced command. Empathy replaced fear. And it all began with one human heart refusing to follow orders blindly. Joren often reflected on that first day in the Court of Customs, when he could have bowed to tradition and taken control as expected. Instead, he had chosen compassion. That single choice had rippled outward, changing lives, altering laws, and transforming an entire culture. By the time Joren retired, Virellia Prime was unrecognizable from the rigid society he had first encountered. Citizens greeted one another as equals, families formed by mutual choice flourished, and the human influence, quiet, steady, and persistent, was embedded in the very fabric of their laws. Alira, sitting beside him on the balcony of their home overlooking the city, smiled. "You changed them." "No," Joren replied, taking her hand. "We changed them. Together." And across the stars, other civilizations began to take note. Humanity, it seemed, had a unique power. Not through force, not through enhancements, not through decrees, but through empathy, choice, and the courage to care. One human heart, it turned out, could change an entire alien culture.